Our oldest one was always a little different, and we knew that.
Growing up, we weren't very close. Stephen and I are opposites.
Very good in sports, very good athlete.
He was very good. He was very competitive.
Jen, she was Jen at the time, always a super athlete. She was always a tomboy.
And then about the end of college, our oldest one came home one time and said, "I'm transgender."
I didn't express my gender at an earlier age because I was completely and utterly terrified. Gender is a different form of expression. I couldn't fake being someone else that everybody thought I was, when internally I had to repress and fake, and it just was, it wasn't me.
I was devastated. It was such a shock. We thought, nope, you're just gay. You're gay. We didn't really understand. I had never heard of transgenderism before that.
I think we heard of 1 out of every 10 people was gay in high school, and then we heard that people cross-dress. That was all I knew about anything that was different.
It was a grieving process along the way. And at one point I can remember Jennifer putting a sign on my bed that said, "Jennifer is dead." And I just literally laid in bed all day and cried. And I had to get over that grieving process to move on.
I really wanted to pick up and create a new identity. Being in a small town and trying to transition is not the easiest thing.
Gloucester is a very conservative community.
This section of Rhode Island, it's the old Yankee mentality up here, you know, they're very conservative, very little change.
It's very simple. Life is a lot more simple out here.
This is a very tremendous change that he was going to go through. And I realized that in society, it's very questionable. And so I knew that he would have to go through a lot of challenges.
We don't have a lot of diversity in this town, and transgenderism is definitely something diverse. So there haven't been many instances where people in this community have had to accept diversity.
I was a deacon at the church, and we had a new minister. He brought in a book. It was about how our church should be against gays.
I feel like people are ignorant, but not on purpose, not necessarily in a bad way, just because they've never been exposed to it.
And so I was very vocal that I didn't want to be that kind of exclusionary church.
And it was finally dropped. So our sign on the church says, "All welcome." And that's what we want.
I think it's about the people of this town, my friends, my family, seeing them in some ways, dare I say, transform with how they relate to me being transgender. They were willing to engage in the dialogue that needed to be had, and these were difficult conversations.
And there have been people that have been critical because they can't understand it, but the bulk of the people that we are friends with have been supportive. My neighbors too. When they found out, it was the 4th of July and we had many people, my neighbors all came over because JD, Stephen, had come home from New York and they wanted to meet the new person.
Now he's back and he's coaching as a male in the system that he went through as a female.
So let's see, he's coached volleyball, soccer, basketball, baseball, tennis. From what I hear from the kids like him. And the kids won't lie to you.
He's taken some teams that have had a lot of turmoil and got them to 500 records or better.
He loves coaching. He absolutely loves it.
I have no favorite sport, really. I like them all. I like the seasons when they change, from the ebb and flow of soccer to the ebb and flow of basketball. Sports is an outlet. It saved me in some sort of way, the process. It was something where I could step out of myself rather than the introspective that you have to do in order to survive sometimes.
I'm sure for a lot of people who didn't know Stephen as Jen, they just see him as a boy.
I call him either JD or Stephen. And JD we agreed upon because Jennifer was no longer appropriate. And he also knows that people that knew him growing up before a change are going to call him Jennifer.
I cringe when I hear people calling me Jen, but I know that they don't mean any harm. You know, I find that most people are making the effort to call me Stephen, and that's great because that's an acknowledgement that they're getting it or that they're starting to get it.
His father still calls him Jennifer because he's had a stroke, and it was around the time that this was going on.
It's ingrained. It's nailed into you early on. Gender is so nailed into, you know, all of us. For me it wasn't, but you know.
Before the transition, so much energy went into that body dysphoria, that uncomfortableness. That's gone now.
I do have more confidence coming out and being me now. I'm comfortable in my skin, and I'm comfortable with the people that I'm around. I just want to get to know them now. I'm kind of tired of getting to know myself and having this all internal dialogue.
He's Stephen now, and they remember him as Jennifer too, but it's still Jennifer or Stephen. You know, they know it's deep down, it's still the same person.
And you know, I think that's great from this town. You know, we're a conservative little town in a very liberal state, and you know, it's nice to see that people can take people for who they are.
It really comes down to we're human beings, and I bleed just like anyone else. I cry like anyone else. It's really, we're human beings.